Welcome back, friends. I'm so glad you're here. Today, we're talking about 3 paradigm shifts that will set you up for success this year regarding your movement, exercise, physical practice goals. One of the Vibrant Mom health pillars is about a midlife movement revolution. And what I mean by revolution is evolving our way of relating to exercise and using our bodies in movement, as well as evolving the actual practices that we're doing and the actual physical exercises or supports we're giving to our bodies, and also letting our mindset and our kind of internal framework around moving our bodies and being in relationship with our bodies, letting that grow and expand to our higher good and well-being. So before I give you this is what you should be doing in your 40s or as you're nearing your 40s or well after your 40s, before I give you that list of like movement practices and things to prioritize, and before I give you my tips and tricks about how to actually make that happen and even a super busy working mom schedule, I want to start off on the right foot in terms of mindset and framework approach so that you can ultimately be successful with your goals this year. I decided to talk about this first, this kind of movement pillar first in 2026 this year, because exercise goals, movement goals tends to be the number one thing that I hear women talking about wanting to do more of or do differently or finally prioritize in some way. And I think there's probably 2 influencers of that. I think maybe from a less workable perspective, our culture puts so much emphasis on women's bodies, and their sense of worth and sense of self is usually really tied to the shape of their bodies, the condition of their bodies. So there's usually a lot of both internal and external pressure to make movement a big goal or a big resolution in the new year. And I think I would just say even like more workable than that first one motivator is that I think there's a good part of all of us that knows that to be human is to be in a body. And most of us know that our body is the one relationship we'll have through our whole lives from birth until our last breath. And most of us know that when we're not moving our bodies well enough, or if that relationship with body is adverse or difficult or stressful, then we're not really thriving. We're not really feeling our best when we're not in connection with our bodies and moving our bodies and using our bodies. So that desire to make movement a resolution can sometimes be born from that like beautiful, deeper knowing place that we want more for ourselves and we do want to feel better in our bodies. And just like how motherhood reshaped the very fabric of your day-to-day life and provided this whole dimension for your identity, motherhood also, and the demands and opportunities of motherhood also really influences what's happening in your body and your need to be creative in how you bring movement strategically into your day. So these 3 paradigm shifts I'm going to share with you have to do with setting you up for ultimate success in your goals for moving your body this year. And I'm going to tell you my definition of success for you and for myself. And that is having a relationship with your body that is moving toward even more love, even more acceptance, even greater strength and capability and empowerment. And of course, vibrant physical and mental and emotional health. So the first paradigm shift that I want to offer you includes a message, a common message that I think we all get, and then the one that I want to debunk, and then I'll give you a different message to try on and embrace this year. So the first message is, once I know better, I'll do better. So once I know what to do, then I will just be able to do it. I can use my grit and my determination and my discipline to do that thing. So once I know better, I'll do better. And I want to offer you a different paradigm to look at, because as someone who helps people change behavior, has been a student of her own life and patterns for most of my adult life, I just find it not to be the case in this area of life for most women, but in all areas of life, that it's not necessarily true that once we know better, we do better. For all of us, we come about our relationship with our bodies and our relationship with movement from varied paths. And some of those paths are tricky and complicated, and some of those paths are a little easier and more straightforward. I think it's deeply unkind to be like, oh, because I listened to a podcast and it told me all of the movement things I should be doing, that it would be a given that I would be able to implement it with ease and with little pushback or turbulence, and that I shouldn't have any variation from that plan once I know what the plan is and I've decided to put it into place. My friend, that's just not how human beings work. And it, especially around a tender relationship with body, not usually most people's experience. So the shift I want to offer you is that it is helpful for me to match my movement plans and expectations with the season of life I'm in, and more specifically, the phase of life I'm in within that season. So rather than once I have knowledge, I'm able to do it without difficulty, we're shifting that mindset to, I can get the knowledge, but I'm going to run that knowledge through the filter, and I'm going to make my expectations and my plans for myself match the season and match the phase of life that I'm in. So rather than forcing you and your body into someone else's expectations or this outside version of what you're supposed to be, I want you to grow the skills this year to get wise counsel and information, but then bring it in and let it fit and match where you're at in the season of life that you're in. So I have created these kind of phases in my own mind. I think that most moms are in one of three phases. And I think it's important to know that we kind of go in and out of these phases, and these phases could apply to movement. They could apply to nutrition. They could apply to creative practices. They could apply to anything that you're trying to do differently than you're already doing it, and you're wanting to get yourself to take action, or you're wanting to bring additional things in your world. You're going to find yourself in one of three phases. But today we're talking about movement, so I'm going to keep all of my conversation based to that movement topic. So the three phases are a maintenance phase, an introduction phase, and an optimization phase. And I'm going to tell you about all the three phases, but I think what's most important is that you are able to locate yourself in any given season of life in one of these three phases. Or maybe you're in a transition and you're kind of like in a hybrid form between two. But the essential skill here, once you learn about the phases, is to be able to locate where you're at in them. And then you would take in any healthcare information, especially regarding exercise or movement, and you would adopt that good information to make sense for the phase that you're in. So a maintenance phase has to do with, it is really good for me to just be able to maintain whatever it is that I'm already doing. It means I don't have actually a ton of room or ability right now to do anything more or anything differently then I'm already doing it. And so that means even if what you're trying to maintain isn't exactly what you would like it to look like a year from now or even a month from now, you're really giving some dignity and respect to short or longer, prolonged seasons of needing to allow yourself to be in a maintenance phase. Even if what you're maintaining isn't great or what you would like it to be, sometimes we can't really expect ourselves to be able to add in extra things in a week where our kids are sick. Or we can't add in extra things if we're going through a deep personal struggle that needs a little bit more leg time for resolution. Those maintenance times wouldn't be times that I would recommend starting your New Year resolution. Let the goals and intentions you have for yourself be so important to you that you're willing to do it even at a later date from the initial motivation, or even at a little later date after your birthday or after the new year. Let there be grace for the constricted nature of a maintenance phase. Like, you and I wouldn't talk to a brand new mom who's just trying to figure out sleep and feeding and all of that. We wouldn't want to be talking to her about optimizing her fitness goals. That would be deeply unkind and deeply unrealistic to the phase of life. She's just in maintenance phase. If she gets a walk in, with her baby, that's like a huge win, right? She left the house. So there are like certain ages of kids or certain life circumstances or certain kind of personal growth phases that we go through where maintaining whatever we have going is the best thing. So I'd love for you to have the skill, if you're in a maintenance phase, of taking in the information about like, yeah, when you move toward midlife, you want to use your body and move your body differently. And I want you to get that information, but then have the ability to tuck it away somewhere where you're not losing your desire to move in that direction, but you're just restricting your mind and your efforts. You're restricting it away from that thing you're going to move toward eventually until you're in the right phase to do it. And when we do that well, we're really reinforcing in our inside talk. Like, it's okay that I'm not like doing crazy movement goals right now. Like, it's okay. I don't need to obsess about my body or obsess about where I am at. I can allow myself to be as I am and look for what I'm already doing well that feels good to my body. Like, maybe I'm sleeping a little bit more, or maybe I'm taking showers really well, or maybe I'm stretching a little bit, or maybe I went on that walk. Like, whatever it is you're already doing, really giving dignity and respect to the things you're already doing and letting that be really meaningful and valuable to you. And that you're going to remind yourself when you move into an introductory phase of those good health practices you were introduced to, maybe in a book or a talk or a podcast or something like that. So the second phase is an introduction phase. And the introduction phase is when you're feeling like you've just got a little bit of bandwidth, not a ton, like you can't optimize, you can't do all the things, but you're ready and you're able to start to introduce some new movement strategies, or you're ready to introduce like a 30-minute or a 15-minute or a 45-minute, whatever it is, amount of time in your schedule a couple times a week, or most days, you're ready to introduce something new into your day-to-day life. And I love catching moms in the introduction phase because they may be inclined to introduce things that they've done in the past and that they've enjoyed as their movement strategy, which would not be wrong. That could be a really wonderful thing to do. If there are things that you enjoy doing with your body, movement practices you love, but don't actually fit the like top list of midlife movement recommendations, I'm pretty like rebellious about not following all the rules all the time. Like, do what feels good for you and listen to your body, like listen to what interests you. So if you're in a maintenance phase and you're doing something with your body, keep it, even if it's kind of not exactly what I would introduce to you to do in your 40s for your movement practices. If you're in an introductory phase and you want to bring in those familiar practices in, go ahead. Like, this is your life, do what you love. And the reason why I love catching moms at an introductory phase, no matter what age their kids are, no matter what's going on, is because I think that the recommendations for movement in midlife fit perfectly with a busy working mom. It's not the same thing that you might have associated, which is like long cardio sessions or like classroom style, maybe movement practices. I think that what's recommended for women in midlife actually fit really well in shorter format practices that you could actually do from home. You could do it outside of the home if that serves you best, but you can do free, low cost things to really help your body in midlife and in relatively short periods of time, which is so cool. So if you're in an introduction phase, it's the perfect time to explore and take in some of those midlife movement recommendations. I'll give you mine on a different podcast. But if you're in the introductory phase, it's wonderful to start to bring in either something that you have loved and that you want to do again, and or bring in something new that you could try on that actually might meet your age and your body's needs and your season of life better. Now, just like a little bit of a user warning around this introduction phase, I myself have experienced this, and so many moms I know report the same, that when you finally get to an introduction phase, your mind thinks that you can do more with the space that you have than you actually can. So you want to adopt one of my favorite principles. Let's just go slow and steady. Bring in one small thing and get consistency with that over time, and then go ahead and add in another. Like small steps that are sustainable equal big gains over time. The third phase is the optimization phase, where you are in a place where your life, your mind, your resources, your energy, your desires are really aligning with being able to bring quite a bit of time and energy and care into your movement practices. And then we're making sure you're getting all of the foundational movements that are really recommended and required for vibrant health in midlife. We're also kind of able to add on top of that foundation, like cherry on top things that really make your body and your mind-body connection feel really good. But can you hear in these phases that it would be very unkind to try to do things that make sense for an optimization phase in an introduction phase? And it would be really unkind to do things that make sense for an optimization phase, trying to fit that into a maintenance phase. So my friend, little self-reflection. Where do you think you're at in terms of movement and like using your body and exercising your body, strengthening your body, stretching your body, conditioning your body, spending any time at all with your body? Where are you at? Maintenance, introduction, or optimization? And then in a different podcast, when I kind of tell you the foundational benchmarks for movement for that midlife body, you can then run those recommendations through the filter of where you're at. You can maintain what you're already doing. You can slowly start to introduce some of those recommendations, or you can take them all in and optimize them for yourself. So the paradigm shift number 2 that I want to offer you is, this is the old belief. I use movement and physical activity to improve the way that my body looks, and then therefore improve the worth that I feel. And I'd love to replace that with I use movement to be connected to my body, to improve my mental health and my relationship with this physical container of my body. So, old paradigm, movement is to change my appearance, and my appearance gives me a sense of worth. And we're shifting it to I move my body to bring physical health, mental health, and emotional well-being in my mind-body connection. We could talk a lot about that old paradigm, and maybe we should. Friends, let me know if you want to talk about that old paradigm and how it impacts us as women. But if we're focusing just on the benefits and what will set you up for success this year with your movement plans, it's that the amazing thing about midlife movement is that is a multitasking, double dipping gold mine. That when you're able to prioritize pretty much any type of movement in your schedule, it can benefit your physical health, of course, and we want to do that. We want to bring strength. We want to protect your bones. We want to prevent muscle loss. We want cardiovascular and respiratory health. We want to feel energized. Like we want to have good mood. We want to have a sense of agency and care in our lives and with our bodies. We want all of those things. But guess what? What you could also do when you're doing any body-based practice is add in a layer of emotional attunement and emotional regulation. You can learn the skills of embodied emotional regulation practices where you're using that physical exercise that you're doing to make you even more capable to deal with the life event you're going through. You can use that physical movement practice to make you feel more spacious and more relaxed and more open to helping yourself through whatever the emotional challenges that you're going through as a human on this planet and as a mom mothering human beings through this experience of life. You can think of it kind of like the emotional experiences we have are like a body of water moving through. And sometimes it's a pretty big volume of water when it's a really big emotional experience. And if you think about trying to push a big volume of water through a narrow riverbank or a narrow canyon wall, so if those banks or those canyons that are containing the river are really narrow and constricted, that volume of water moving through is going to have to constrict itself and then rise up. It's going to be much bigger feeling. It's going to be splashier. It's going to be more turbulent. But if you can take that same volume of water and run it through a wider channel, if we can widen the riverbanks, spread out those canyon walls, then that same body of water has not changed. The volume hasn't changed, but there's more space for it to move through. And physical movement practices that benefit our physical health can also give us, when we're giving that meaning and intent to it and we're connected to it, the it being this emotional widening and this emotional integrating work that I'm talking about, we can move through some pretty big emotional experiences in a way that feels just simply more spacious, a little less clunky, a little less rowdy, and with a little bit more tolerance for the volume so that we can really listen to what those emotions are asking us to pay attention to. And we can feel more confident that we're aligning our actions in the situation moving forward with who we most want to be in the world and with fidelity to the essential information from within that your emotions were trying to alert you to. So no longer, ladies, are we just trying to move our bodies to like look a certain way or be a certain way. We are moving our bodies to have vibrant health and to have a amazing container with which to work through our emotions. So sometimes we don't want to be multitasking, but on this, my friend, absolutely, I want you to be prioritizing moving your body and knowing that regardless of how you feel about how that, movement practice went, regardless of how you felt about doing that movement practice, maybe you're like, oh, I don't have the energy. You can remind yourself it will feel good now to do that because I need a space to work through the volume of thoughts and feelings that I'm dealing with on a daily basis as a human being. Okay. Final and third paradigm shift for today. Outdated belief. In order to be successful, I need to be consistent, and consistency means a strict schedule. We're throwing that one out, and we could replace it with consistency means primarily that I am in a devoted relationship with my body and with myself in that body. So old paradigm is I get information that has me set a schedule for when I'm working out and what I'm doing. And I'm going to do that no matter what. We're going to maybe move away from that and instead choose to embrace that the consistency that I'm wanting is to be with myself and my body almost every day with as much intention as I can. The devotion isn't to the exercise schedule. The devotion is to being with your body and choosing to let your body be just as important to you as your child, as your work, as your partner, as your friendships, that relationship with your body and your body getting what it needs in order to do everything that it's doing for you in midlife as a human, as a mom, as a thinker, as a creator. We want to give devoted time to our bodies. And I find when the devotion is not to the exercise schedule, but when devotion is to making time to be with your body, so much unlocks and transforms. You're successful even if you intended to exercise, but you got sick and so you couldn't. Like you're successful even if you intended to do a big strength training that day, but you ended up not having the energy or the bandwidth to summon up the extra oomph it would have taken to do that. Most women I see, when they're not able to do what they had thought that they were going to do, they kind of abandon that time with their body. They just feel like, oh, I couldn't do it. I'm a failure. And then the self-talk that originates from it and the rigidity around needing to do it later, I think causes a little bit more problems than help. So I love the spaciousness of a very boundaried, very devoted connection with your body as the focus and as the priority. And that gives you the flexibility to be like, okay, I am going to take 30 minutes for my body today. Who is the human being showing up to that window of time? Would it benefit me to do something rigorous? Would it benefit me to do something restorative? Would it benefit for me to do something that's kind of more fluid and in motion? Or would it benefit me to do something that feels like it has more structure? Like you can be as creative with your movement as you are as a human. Like let's be endlessly creative with that time. We can be very flexible with what we do with that time. But what I would love, if you're in an introduction phase, especially, or in an optimization phase, certainly, for you to introduce, my commitment is to do something for my body. 15 to 30 minutes minimum. As I get more bandwidth, an hour or more if you've got that flexibility or spaciousness in your schedule. But I'm going to do something for my body every day. And if I don't do something for my body, and on purpose is what I'm talking about, like you're retreating from life and doing something very specifically for your body. If you don't do it one day, I would love for you to be gracious and curious about why. And then if it's 2 days in a row, you don't do something for your body, I want you to be curious and then also maybe concerned, but not in a shamey way, but like in a caring way. Curious, but caring. To be like, no, Kara, or no, whoever you are, if you're listening in, we can't go 3 days in a row without having a really devoted experience of caring for body. Body needs us. This relationship needs you. And I think when we're committed to the old paradigm of like whatever the plan was, and if that plan doesn't actually meet our deeper needs as a human, then we feel like, well, if I can't exercise intensely for 60 minutes, then why do anything at all? And I think yeah, that's not for us this year. I could say a lot about that. I'm just going to say not for us this year. What could be for us is like really looking forward to that 30 minutes, let's just say. The amount of time I think is reflective of maintenance, introduction, or optimization phase. The length of time matters less than it matching the phase that you're in. But for this conversation's sake, I'll just use the example of 30 minutes. I want you to look forward to, like I'm practicing looking forward to 30 minutes to let go of other people, let go of work, let go of anything else in the outside world, and getting to be with your body and letting your body experience a variety of movement practices this year that really help it to feel good. And looking forward to using those 30 minutes to be with body, to support body, and then also to widen the riverbanks and give us more ability and capacity to be with ourselves and be with our inner worlds with more skill. I'm so curious to hear what you think about this idea. Tell me which paradigm shift matters most to you. And if you're like, girl, I am in introduction phase or I am in optimization phase and I am ready to embrace vibrant health and I don't want to wait for a random time you're going to give me a podcast about what I could do, come into the collective. I want to invite you to join us. There is a seat saved for you. Take care. Let me know in the comments what phase you're in and what paradigm shift seems most relevant to you. Take care, and I'll look forward to connecting with you again next week.